This is my personal story on how I got started in real estate. And yes, Burger King had a lot to do with it. When I was in college, I always knew I was going to be in real estate. I saved my student loan refund money for 3 years to get started. However, in 2003, when I began the process to purchase my first rental, I realized that I was going to be $10,000 short, as the bank wanted to see a certain dollar amount in my savings account. So I went on a financial diet, and I went on it fast. After looking over my bank statements, I discovered I was spending a lot on fast food, eating out, and other junk expenditures. So I decided to cut them in half or out altogether. True story, y'all. Back then, Burger King used to sell a 99-cent Whopper. So for lunch, I would buy the Whopper and cut it in half. I would eat one half for lunch and one half for dinner. Sounds extreme, right? If you're thinking that, then I guess you have never felt so strongly about wanting something so badly. For me, it had been 3 long years already, and I was so close. I was like, there's no way I was going to let $10,000 separate me from accomplishing my dream. Would you? I mean, you have come so far and have gotten so close. Would you turn and walk away from it, or would you press forward? My desire to start my real estate journey was so deep that there was no way I was going to just walk away. That desire was greater than my current circumstance. Are you just $5,000 or $10,000 away from getting started in something or acquiring something that can change your life? Are you trying to figure out how to get it without a side hustle, an extra job, or following some made-up silly $833 rule or the $385 rule? In this video, I'm going to show you how I saved $10,000 fast and increased my take-home pay without increasing my income. In other words, I didn't have a side hustle or I didn't get a second job. Before I do that, if you like our videos and find them resourceful, go ahead and hit the like button, comment, and share. It helps the channel, and we will do our best to respond to your comments. According to a recent survey by Ladder and One Poll, the amount of money Americans waste is about $18,000 per year per person on non-essentials. In other words, junk. What if we could save just half of that? How would $9,000 or $10,000 make a difference in your life now? Let's see how I was able to recapture some of those junk expenditures and reallocate them to my savings account. Number 1, I decided to pay myself first. This was a non-negotiable. To be honest, this is really the nucleus to the journey. It doesn't matter how much money you make or how much your monthly obligations are. You must include yourself as a monthly payment. I know it sounds crazy, and truth be told, it wasn't easy. This step is not about money at all. It's about your mindset to stretch your current reality into a new and improved reality. Every transformative journey begins with a made-up mind. There is absolutely no reason you should go to work for 40 hours plus a week and not pay yourself first. We have a tendency to pay everybody else but ourselves. Why? Why not commit to yourself first? Listen, life is going to happen with you paying yourself or not. So why not get paid too? Everyone else is benefiting off your labor. Remember those $18,000 you spend on junk is being spent anyway. Why not use that to pay yourself first? No, really, comment below. I want to see your responses. According to Buzzing Coffee Industry statistics, the American coffee industry has an annual revenue of $95.58 billion as of 2023. What? This means men and women combined for an average of $4,261 per year on coffee. Elridge, I'm talking to you, my friend. This guy, I know for a fact, spends about $16 to $20 every time we work out of a coffee shop. The $4,261 is about a quarter of the $18,000 in junk expenditures I mentioned earlier. Imagine shifting that cost back to your savings. For me, it wasn't coffee. It was a 2-piece white with red beans and rice, a small French fry, and a medium Coke 3 to 4 times a week from Popeyes. And it may be something different or a few things different for you. Maybe Netflix, Prime, Hulu. It may be entertainment, or maybe it might be the casino. Let me get out your business right quick. Which brings me to step number 2. I pulled 3 to 4, maybe 6 months of my bank statements. I highlighted all my fixed life expenses, my fixed living expenses, lights, water, rent, mortgage, car insurance, groceries, etc. This is important for obvious reasons. But most importantly, I needed to see the frequency and when these bills were due versus when I was getting paid. For me, my car note and my motorcycle notes were my largest expenses at that time. If both were due by the time I got my first check for the month, then of course I probably paid myself out of that check less. And on my second pay period for the month, where I may have not had as many bills due, then of course I would pay myself a larger amount. I always made sure I kept my monthly goal. And when possible, I would pay myself more than my monthly goal. Next, I highlighted all those junk expenditures. Man, this really made me sick to my stomach. When I saw how much Al Copeland's family, the original owner of Popeyes, was getting of my money, I was like, ain't no way I'm paying for their speedboats anymore. This step is about facing a harsh reality and doing something about it. From this step, you will learn how much money you can allocate to yourself. Find that number and make that number your monthly goal and stick to it, guys. Now look, going cold turkey on all of your junk expenses may not be highly recommended unless you just have an ironclad discipline. I don't want to discourage you. So if you can do it, jump right in. It just wasn't my reality. Popeyes was a part of my weekly life, so I had to chip at it. If I was doing 4 meals a week from Popeyes, which I was, I started by having 2 meals a week. By the way, Popeyes is still my weakness, but for this month right now, I've only bought Popeyes once. That's a huge accomplishment for me. Okay, now on to step number 3. I set up a bank account for saving $10,000. This was not a checking account. It was simply a savings account in a separate bank from where I normally would bank. So why I separated the bank? Good question. I wanted to make it difficult for me to access the money once it was deposited into that account. So for me, I chose a bank whose branches were not near my home or not near my job. In fact, to this day, they only have 2 branches throughout the entire Metro New Orleans and 1 standalone ATM, and none of them are worth the drive to pull money out. When life happened, it kind of pushed me to figure things out rather than run to the savings account. My savings account was not attached to an ATM card, and that had no other means to access or withdraw the money. There are a few things you can do to boost your take home without increasing your income, meaning you don't have to get a second job or hustle. I'll talk about a few of them in just a few minutes. But real quick, if you're an entrepreneur wondering how you can fund your business, you might want to check out our video on how we raised $500,000 in just 3 weeks. Number 4, fast. This is about speed. My speed and your speed are 2 different speeds. I think I probably raised or saved $10,000 in about 5 months. My fast and your fast is not the same. So don't set this in stone. Your fast is dependent on how much junk expenses you have and your ability to stay focused and disciplined. At the end of the day, it's about discipline and commitment. At that time in my life, I didn't have a lot of monthly obligations, and I was throwing a lot of my $45,000 salary away or giving it to Popeye. So this is why step number 2 and step number 1 is extremely important. And set a realistic goal and break it down to a monthly obligation. As they say, Rome was not conquered in a day, and the fastest way to eat a cow is 1 bite at a time. Now for the bonus. How I boosted my take home without increasing my income. Here is my disclaimer, guys. I am not a tax advisor or an accountant. Consult with your tax advisor before implementing these steps and your employee's benefit specialist. This is not something I saw online. This is what I really did. Number one, whenever I knew I was getting a check bigger than what I normally took home, for instance, as a salary employee, you may be due a bonus, or if you're an hourly employee, you may have worked some extra hours during that pay period. I would change my tax status only for that pay period to exempt, meaning I would not pay any federal taxes from that pay period. Those few extra dollars I would allocate towards my savings account. Now, don't be looking at me funny. Changing your tax status 1 or 2 times throughout the year should not have a great impact on your tax refund. It didn't for me. Don't get me started. In my opinion, I'm not a fan of overpaying the IRS anyway. Your refund is you overpaying to them and them giving you their overpayment back with no interest. Now that's robbery. Let you owe them. They're definitely going to add some interest onto the money that you owe them. This overpayment could have flowed through your savings throughout the year. But again, who am I? I'm no tax accountant. Number two, whenever possible, I would increase how much of the company stock I would buy. I worked for Home Depot. Y'all, back then, their stock was good. In fact, when I was in college, this is how I paid for my books. I would increase my stock options, then sell them when I needed the extra cash. Number three, if I was not doing the max contribution to my 401k, I would increase it. Sometimes I would decrease it throughout the year, so I played around with it a lot. This is important because Home Depot had a 401k matching program. If your company offers a matching program, you might want to consider increasing your contribution, especially during your bonus pay period and or your annual increase pay period. You weren't missing the pay raise anyway, so I would put it in a 401k and experience a tax deferment. Now look, every company is different when it comes to what you can and cannot do with your benefits. Check with your HR department, and most payroll departments allow you to change your tax status whenever you want. You just got to make sure you get the document in on time to the payroll department before your next check is processed. As I said before, all this is from my personal experience. If there was something that caught your attention, drop a comment below, or maybe you have some experiences you like to share. I would love to see them. The purpose of this channel is to build a safe community where we can learn and share. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and I can't wait to hear from you.